Hello, dear listener. Let us now gently leave the rush and fatigue of the day behind the door. I invite you to a city where a thousand-year-old legacy awaits, as we inhale the scent of history slowly rising like the steam from a hot beverage. As we embark on a tranquil journey in our minds, we shall surrender neither to the excitement of an adventure nor to the pressure of dry information. We will simply listen to the whispers hidden among the stones of that great city, once the center of the world. As the air grows heavy with the cool of the evening, the lands beneath our feet are the place where not just an empire, but an idea itself, the ideal of Rome, managed to survive for 11 more centuries. While the cities of Western Europe descended into darkness, a light shone brightly on another continent, on that strategic triangle where the waters of the Marmara and the Black Sea intersected. Its name, officially proclaimed in May 330 by the vision of Emperor Constantine I, was Constantinople, the city of Constantine. In choosing this location, Constantine was not merely exhibiting military or commercial genius. He sensed that the world's spirit, its political center of gravity, was shifting eastward. The weariness of old Rome, the shadows of pagan gods, and its worn-out institutions were left behind. Like a serpent shedding its skin, the Roman identity would be reborn here, nurtured by the new energy of the Christian faith, and transformed into something entirely new. This was now the heart of a new world order, blending ancient Greek elegance with the precision of Roman law. As the city walls were built, a civilization awoke from its slumber, slowly whispering its name as Byzantium. This new, splendid capital was a magnificent stage, offering its audience the serenity just before a 900-year storm.
As we slowly begin to feel the empire's spirit, let us turn our calendars to the mid-6th century, its most glorious and perhaps most tumultuous period. A man takes the stage who views power not merely as a title, but as a divine duty, Justinian. His reign is the era when Byzantium fully found itself and monumentally carved its identity in stone. But this splendor was not easily won. The city streets were rocked by the Nika Revolt, one of history's most destructive civil uprisings, which erupted in 532. Those days demonstrated just how fragile the imperial edifice could be, and the power of ordinary people's rage. When the revolt was finally suppressed, a large part of the city, especially its holiest places of worship, lay in ashes.
Justinian's genius bloomed precisely in the midst of this destruction. He was not only a ruler, but an architect and an idealist. He decided to build a structure upon the ruins of the old basilica that the world had never seen before. The goal was not just to construct a sanctuary for Christianity, but to challenge the limits of architecture, creating a tangible proof of God's power on earth. It was this unwavering will, combined with the engineering vision of the two genius architects, Anthemius and Isidore, that gave birth to the Church of Holy Wisdom, Hagia Sophia. Imagine the moment you first step into Hagia Sophia. All the city's outside noise instantly ceases. Light streams through the complex arrangement of windows, dancing upon the marble and the mosaics. The most striking element, the colossal dome, creates the sensation that it is not resting on the ground, but is suspended from the heavens. In 537, being able to hold a dome of this magnitude aloft, as if it were a piece of the sky, was perceived as more of a miracle than an engineering feat. It is said that even Justinian himself, at the inauguration ceremony, whispered, referencing Solomon's temple in Jerusalem, "Solomon, I have surpassed thee." Hagia Sophia was not merely stone and mortar.
It was the soul of Byzantium. It was the point where law, art, politics, and faith converged, the site of imperial ceremonies, coronations, and the final haven of hope during Byzantium's most desperate moments. To stand there was not just to look at a building, but to feel the glory and the fragility of an entire civilization simultaneously. Justinian had waged great wars to expand the empire's physical borders, trying to re-establish old Rome's dominance over the Mediterranean. Yet his most enduring conquest was that sense of inner peace and eternity created beneath the vast dome. Although the golden age of Constantinople reached its peak with the construction of Hagia Sophia, the rivers of history never flow in a single direction. The centuries following Justinian were a period of constant defense and struggle for Byzantium. The empire showed astonishing resilience against countless pressures from the east and west, economic crises, and internal power struggles. The walls were not merely made of stone and mortar. They were the physical embodiment of the idea of Rome's millennium-long continuity. However, even the strongest walls cannot withstand treason or fatigue from within. One of the most painful blows to Byzantium's fate occurred in 1204 during the Fourth Crusade. The attack by the Latin Knights from the west, who were supposed to be co-religionists, on Constantinople, their looting of the city, and the desecration of Hagia Sophia inflicted an irreparable wound on the empire's soul. This deep trauma shattered not only Byzantium's political and economic power, but primarily its moral resilience. The splendor of the city, plundered by the Crusaders, never fully returned. As the gold from the mosaics and the precious stones from the altars were stolen, the very heart of the empire was virtually ripped out. The subsequent 2 centuries were a period of deceleration and decline. The empire had shrunk from its former colossal borders, now a small giant largely confined within its own walls. Yet, even in this constrained space, art, philosophy, and theology still breathed. Byzantium, until its final days, maintained its role as the quiet library that preserved ancient Greek wisdom and would scatter the seeds of the Renaissance to the west.
And when the calendars showed the spring of 1453, the inevitable end arrived. The final emperor, Constantine XI Palaiologos, led the city's defense, his actions being neither a display of great power nor desperate resistance, but rather an expression of a last fidelity to the Roman tradition. The fall itself felt less like a catastrophe and more like the slow closing of the curtain on an 11-century-long stage. A weary civilization was finally drawing to its rest. When those great walls were breached and the magnificent doors of Hagia Sophia were opened, the change that occurred inside was neither a destruction nor an annihilation. It was simply a transformation. The rhythm of a new faith and a new culture entered beneath that glorious dome that Justinian had dedicated to God. Though Byzantium withdrew from the stage of history, its deep marks continued to live on, in its legal system, its architecture, its art, and most importantly, in the soul of Istanbul. To understand Byzantium is not just to learn the story of an empire's rise and fall. It is the story of an idea that endured despite everything, of a civilization that stubbornly resisted the darkness attempting to extinguish its light, and of one of humanity's greatest works of art, intellect, and resilience. Now, as we leave the whispers of this great city's stones behind, I wish you peaceful rest, taking the tranquility and depth of this age-old tale into your mind. Good night.